Okay, I'm doing it again because apparently the audio was awful on the last one. Brian Knight ever asked me what makes a good felt travel hat, and what it comes down to is if you want a felt travel hat, something you can roll up, the better ones, cloth sweatband makes it a lot easier unless you have a really, really thin leather sweatband. Now, modern felt dress hats, like when I was designing for Stetson, they usually have a sheepskin sweatband. It's pretty thick in a way, and I wouldn't use it as a roll up. Borsalino, they use a, what would you call it? It's not cap, but anyway, a thinner sweatband tends to be much better, but a cloth sweatband is even better. And for a roll-up hat, you've got to have a great memory. Pop out the crown, turn the brim down, fold the hat in half, push the crown in, and roll it up, kind of crushable. So a very good memory is what really makes a good travel hat. And for a felt with a good memory, you want something that is what's called decatized in the vernacular of hatting and clothing. Decatizing meaning when this hat's made, it's made of hair fibers. And like with any hair, it's got scales all up and down. So if you take a hair of your own, grab it by the base, you can slide your fingers up one way and it slips. If you grab it by the top, slide your fingers the other way and it downward and it's grippy. That's because all up and down that hair follicle are, in a way, scales. So if you add heat, moisture, those scales open up on that hair follicle, and you put a lot of hair follicles together and mesh them, they will grab onto each other. What is called, I'll come up with the name in a moment, but they'll grab onto each other, and when it cools down, those scales will close and they'll grip very tightly, creating a layer of felt. It's pretty much just hairs grabbing onto hairs. And what they do after that is when you get this bit of a sheet of felt, they'll sand it smooth. And that's what you get, nice smooth felt hats like this. This is all beaver. This one is a body that's pretty old, found in the factory. The felt's dead, decatized, cured, meaning the oils that cause that fur to open, they're either gone or they're just dried out. And when this was blocked, like a 1930s hat, you can block it, and if it gets rained on, any modern hat usually, if it gets rained on, those scales open up and they will tighten up and they will cause the crown to do what's called tapering. You see, this one I like because it does have that very square look, the 1940s. If it were to get rained on, this one would hold its shape. Doesn't mean that the water would run off of it. The thing about all fur felt or wool felt is that it's a sponge. If it gets wet, it will absorb the water. The tell of a good hat is whether or not after it dries, it will keep this shape. A hat that's new but gets rained on, they tend to not just sag and this break on the brim, which is very, just a very clean break, it will get softer and softer and you get this droopy looking hat. And the crown, because that felting process has started again by it opening up the scales on the hairs, it will tend to refelt back together and create a bit of a cone shape. Now the beauty of the vintage hats is that time has cured that felt to the point where the oils are dead. So it can be rained on as much as you want and it will not refelt itself back. It'll keep its shape. But because it's usually so dry, it's a little more brittle, so you can't roll it up as much and crush as much because you'll create a hole here faster. With a modern hat that's been decatized, it still has a bit of a good moisture inside the felt. There's a bit more of the oil in the felt, and it won't wear down as fast. But a good travel hat, yeah, it would be a fur felt. If you're going for felt, a real good travel hat's always going to be a waxed cotton because it can take all the elements and you don't have to worry about it. Felt hats, if it's something that's decatized or cured, yeah, absolutely can be, take all the elements and all the punishment and will have a great memory. But But like I said, I prefer it when it's been, you know, it could be world worn, but it's got to be a felt that's dead. And there's not many factories that make a felt that's been decatized any longer. Western side of the world, they will add tons of stiffening into the hat, so you can get it rained on. There's sizing in there that will keep the hat's shape. It may shrink a bit. With a soft hat, because there's nothing in between the felts, you want it soft, it will have a tendency to shrink much more easily with modern felts. Any crazy word questions? Okay, that's pretty much it. What makes a good travel felt hat? Again, good felt, and something that's been what I call decatized, where it's been decayed. Same thing as sanforizing in shirts. You look at vintage shirts, it says sanforized. What they would do is they had this machine which had several rollers, and they'd literally wash the cotton, dry it, and take out all the shrink in that cotton, so when a guy bought a shirt and it was washed, it wouldn't shrink back down and make for a tight collar. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Any questions outside of that, I will talk to y'all later.